Hi, folks. My name is Gar Whaley. I'm one of the co-founders here of Teal. With me today, I have our HR director, the awesome Shannon Anderson, who coincidentally has the same last name as all my cousins. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that, but we're not related. I should be part of the family, though. I've been around long enough.
Yeah, yep. So Shannon's our HR director, and she's an expert in all areas of human resources. And today we're talking about something that Shannon and I are very passionate about. I talk about this all the time as a differentiator when I'm speaking to prospects, and that is the investment in people. So Shannon, why don't you just kick us off at a high level of telling us why it's crucial to invest in people?
Yeah, Gar, happy to talk about this. You and I have had so many conversations over the years, and the one theme that has really rung true that we always prioritize is that our people are our greatest asset. And so when we hire and invest in our team, we really think more than just filling the seats, but really going towards driving those real measurable results. So simply put, businesses in general that invest in their people outperform those that don't. When we have employees that are engaged, well trained, and valued, they stay longer, they deliver better service, and ultimately they drive profitability.
Yeah, so those are great points. It's even more important, or I don't know, this is a subjective comment or relative, but we're a managed service provider, an MSP, so it's even more crucial in our field. Tell me a little bit about your thoughts on that.
I would agree with you. It's really because technology is only as good as the people behind it. We can set so many, there's only so many automations we can set before we really have to have the people that are pushing the buttons and doing the work. Your IT infrastructure, whether it's internally, your MSP, externally, that's infrastructure, the cybersecurity, and then ultimately the good customer experience are all dependent on the expertise of your staff. And an engaged staff is an expert staff. So many companies, though, they tend to cut corners on hiring, training, and retention, and it's really short sighted.
Yeah, those are good points. I mean, some of the things that I point out, um, when I'm talking to folks is, the hiring process, and the fact that we are lifelong learners in IT generally, but especially in the MSP space. So we have a very in-depth hiring process, and then training. We keep training our people because in technology you have to continually train your people. But talk about differentiation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's been a really huge deal for us because so many companies, and I think we used to hire this way, right? You hire based on a gut feeling, but then we wonder, like, why did this person fail out? And we've really worked hard to take the guesswork out of it. So I'll start high level and then I'll take a deeper dive. So the first thing, and when we redefine our hiring process to build a team that thrives, was we cut out all the fluff, right? We got rid of the traditional phone screens, and instead we start with a one-way video interview. We use our technology that allows candidates to showcase their personality without the pressure of a live interview, but it also helps to cut down that speed to hire because we can say, hey, candidate, you look awesome on paper. We like what we're seeing on your resume. Now tell us more about you. And there's none of that back and forth of like, well, when are you available? When am I available? Use my Calendly link. It's none of that. It's straight, it's to the point. We then leverage data, right? We use pre-employment testing to assess somebody's cognitive abilities, and when I say that, I mean their aptitude towards the work, their personality traits, and then their just overall alignment for the role. So it's not just somebody who can do the job, but somebody who's going to excel in the job. We do still train for, or we hire for somewhat of the skill, but a lot of it is that attitude. We train for those couple of missing pieces. You're never going to find somebody that checks off all 10 boxes. But if we can find somebody that checks off 8 or 9 of our boxes, we can train on those missing couple of pieces. And candidates, they go through multiple touch points, interview with the hiring manager and a technical assessment with team members that makes sure that they fit both the role and the culture. Our approach really has worked to have managers meet people where they are, and our managers know how to manage these new hires effectively, leading to higher retention and performance.
Those are great points. I mean, we enjoy some really fantastic what's it called when folks stay for a long time? Longevity of employees. In fact, we have an employee that's going to hit 10 years tomorrow, actually. And one of the reasons that we've improved in this way over the course of our company is what you're talking about, is the data-driven insight into the interview process. As a hiring manager, I can just speak to the hiring process. When I get a candidate from Michelle, who's our recruiter that works for Shannon, that person has gone through a couple of personality tests, knowledge tests, but also 5 or 10 video questions that really gives me a good understanding of who the person is and why Michelle has sent it over for me to take a look at. So we really, as you talked about all the facts, we really have a rigorous interview process. Clearly, there's not enough time to go through the whole thing. I think you did a great job highlighting it, though. So then we talk about ongoing in training and culture. So that's what I was saying before you answered the last question. We have people as a differentiator because of our hiring process, our culture, and training. So tell us a little bit more specifically about ongoing training and culture.
Yeah. So for the first few weeks that an employee is with us, they're not even on the phones. They're not actually doing the work. They're sitting in a training cohort. Sometimes that training cohort's 1 or 2 people. Sometimes it might be 4 or 5. But it's allowing them to not only meet other employees that are brand new like they are and form those relationships, because when you're part of a cohort, you have a lot of those shared experiences, and it's allowing them to grow together, even if they're not doing the exact same job. They spend time with our training team, really learning not just about the nuts and bolts of their role, but culture at Teal, benefits at Teal, how we do our performance processes. And then they start slowly getting their feet wet into everything as they learn and they train. And then they might spend a couple hours each day doing a little bit of the work. And then they go back to train and apply that knowledge. So they're getting that real-time feedback so that they're in a state of continuous improvement. And then we do regular one-on-ones and 4x4 reviews every quarter. So employees always know where they stand.
Yeah, so I was going to ask you more specifically about 4x4s because that's an important part of our feedback loop. We just don't do an annual review. We do a 4x4, which talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we implemented the 4x4 process a couple years ago. We found that the annual review just wasn't giving tangible results because nobody's remembering what they did or didn't do or failed out from 9 months or 10 months ago. So by establishing this regular quarterly cadence, people get, managers, employees, they ask, it's 4 questions 4 times a year. They're answering the same questions about themselves. And it's giving the employee a chance to, if they are off track for a little bit, they can get right back on track. And that doesn't have to define their year. We're able to set smart goals that are actionable and tangible for our people that are working towards driving business results. Sometimes that could be a certification. Sometimes that could be wrapping up a project. Sometimes that could be moving the needle on a KPI. But it's really about being able to look back at the year once it's concluded to say, this is all of your accomplishments and this is everything you've documented. And part of that 4x4 also is, how do they live our values as an organization? Gar, I know you and I really believe that if we're doing everything right, but we're not all operating from the same angle or the same lens within the values, we're doing something wrong. So it's really nice to be able to go back and say, hey, how is what you're doing right now? For example, one of our values is enjoying the ride. How is what you're doing right now working towards enjoying the ride? Are you enjoying this ride? And if the answer is no, or well, it's really not, we have a way to pivot before things get to a negative place.
Really great answer. Yeah, I was going to bring it back to alignment, how we align with our core values in the systems which we use, which is a whole different call. So we won't get into that. But we're an EOS company, we're a technology company, so we have systems to measure everything, including employee performance and engagement. The other thing I just we're running short on time here, but I wanted you to talk about is the ongoing training and the LLM team, and how that impacts our employees' morale and engagement.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I'm not as involved with the LKM team, so we'll have to have one of them on one of our calls to go into the deep dive. But really, that foundation, like we talked about, starts from the beginning. And that team is constantly pushing out training to them, whether it's articles, whether it's blogs, whether it's, hey, go take this 20-minute class online. We also have different learning paths established based on role. Maybe you want to go into leadership. So, what should those leadership modules that you need to take be? And then we use an LMS, a learning management system, to automate and track some of that stuff, where it's not just established by LKM, but it's also, as an employee, I can go out there and say, hey, I want to improve my Excel skills. I'm going to go in there and grab an Excel course, and I'm empowered to learn more on my own and then apply that knowledge within the business. And then our team is constantly connecting with managers. They're doing some QAs on calls and saying, hey, Gar, I saw that you really struggled in X on that call. Here are some ways that you can improve that. So it's really meant to be a proactive approach versus a reactive approach.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, Shannon in HR handles our onboarding of employees and training them about the company and about their job. But there's a consistent LKM, our learning and knowledge management team, that uses LMS, learning management system, to manage the ongoing training of an employee through the course of their tenure here. And that may include things like Shannon said, cybersecurity awareness, Excel training, or it may be a certification course that we're sending them to on Microsoft. Last thing I want to sort of touch on is the ongoing culture around employee engagement. I think we're talking about recognition and incentives and crew and those sort of things. If you just want to briefly touch on that, and then we'll sort of sum up.
Yeah, absolutely. So we utilize Crewwho a lot, which is an online, call it a reward system, where employees can acknowledge each other, managers can acknowledge each other, client reviews are fed into there, and employees can use that to, they collect these points called Crewwho points, and when they accumulate so much, they can get themselves a $50, $100 gift card to a variety of places and use that for anything fun that they want to use it on. Or, I always enjoy when I get to cash mine in for an Amazon gift card and get to buy something I wasn't going to buy just to treat myself. So that's one way that we do it. And that's probably our most impactful way that we do it. But we've also started rolling out this years of service program, where when people hit 1 year of service, they get a certificate from the company. When they hit 3 years of service, they get this perpetual trophy, that when they hit these other milestones, they get another brick or puck to add to it. And then we've also done some really fun years of service bonuses, cash bonuses, to say thank you for your service. And I'm not talking small little amounts like $50. I'm talking like significant thousands of dollars amounts, to really show our employees we appreciate them. And they seem to be really excited about those bonuses and are doing a lot of fun things with that money.
Great, thanks. I think there was one more thing about incentive. Oh, measurement. This has to do with employee engagement, employee morale, and it's headed up by HR, Shannon, in this case, which is we have a tool to measure this as well, or query our employees about their satisfaction with the company. Just real quick on that, because what brought it up is I think I just got one. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. It is that time of the month. So monthly, through our payroll and HRIS platform, we are able to send an engagement survey to our employees. It's already pre-designed. It's 6 topics that rotate throughout the year. So they might what they're measuring in February, they're going to measure again in August, right? That's 6 months from now. But it always has, so it could be something to do with management, training opportunities, anything about the employee experience, but it always has at the very end, would you recommend Teal as a great place to work? So it's what they call the employee happiness question, kind of like an employee NPS, Net Promoter Score. And it's really been a great measurement of how our employees are feeling. And I know that's a snapshot in time at that time, but they've been really good over the last several months of giving us as leadership team actionable feedback about, they really appreciate when a manager does, it could vary, but there's different things that they'll tell us that they appreciate, or hey, we'd like to see a change on. And like I said, it gives us that real-time feedback that we can then utilize as a leadership team and say, okay, we need to do more of this or less of that. And it's really redefined how we approach things from a management team, because I don't think any of us want to end up on a bad episode of Undercover Boss thinking we're doing the right thing that our employees want, and we're not. So it gives us a chance to really hear them, and they can talk to us in an anonymous way and not feel afraid.
Great. Hey, thanks for sharing all this about recruitment, training, recognition, incentives. We really truly believe that one of our differentiators is our people and the way that we manage recruitment, training, recognition, incentives is a differentiator. I'll give you the last word before we finish up here. Any final thoughts?
I really think that we have worked really hard to not just hire people, but like you said at the beginning of the call, Gar, we invest in them. And it's how we've been able to deliver industry leading results. And so that's why we're able to be such a great partner to our clients, because we've prioritized that talent and service.
Great. Thanks, Shannon. Thanks, folks, for joining us. If you have any more questions about IT or HR, how they go together, feel free to reach out. I'm happy to hook anyone up with Shannon. She is actually, in case we didn't share this at the beginning, with GritHR. So she's our outsourced HR partner. Thanks, Shannon. Everyone have a great day.
Thanks, Gar.